All right, so today is the second session, live sculpting session of Sculpting the King. Again, I have the Queen piece started. This is going to be a chess set that I wanted to sculpt, and we'll see how it goes. This is just kind of something I'm doing for fun, but I'm liking kind of the design as we're going. Things that I'd like to accomplish, maybe work on the head a little bit. It still needs some work, definitely. And then maybe finalize the height and rough out the design is kind of what I'm looking to do in this sculpting session. As far as materials, I'm using this. This is a cheap non-dry modeling clay I got from the Dollar Tree. And then I mixed together a color combination that I liked. It came in a bunch of colors, mixed together some colors that I liked, and then I added about half of that clay and half beeswax. And so it's a little bit firmer, and it's been working okay. It's not as nice as some of the like Chavant clay that I have, but it's a lot cheaper, and so that's what I'm going to be using. I'll use some basic simple sculpting tools that I have back here. These ones are homemade tools. This one came from a cheap sculpting set. It's like a pottery tool for removing clay, and then just a butter knife. I like butter knives. If you're using a butter knife, I definitely recommend finding one that has a flat blade so it's not serrated, and then that tapers quite a bit towards the front. This is my favorite butter knife, and you can see at one edge it's a little bit thicker, and then it tapers towards almost a sharp point. It's not sharp, but it's very thin at the front, and so this is great for cutting clay, and then working on some of the details later on. I'll be using that. I also have this guy as a reference, kind of just for the torso and back, just to get some rough details. The style that I'm going for is more simplified, and so I won't be worrying too much about getting all of the anatomy in place. I'll be removing the arms, but I just want to have kind of an idea of where those anatomical features are, and that way I can choose how I'm going to abstract the sculpture. And I do want it to be a little bit abstracted, kind of playing with the idea of the king and queen chess pieces, but doing it in my own abstract style. So if you guys are watching this later on, then welcome, and feel free to leave comments or questions or things that you'd like me to address in future live streams. If you guys that are watching live have questions, feel free to ask those. You can ask me anything. In fact, maybe I'll put that in the comments, and I'll try to keep an eye on these. I'll just put ask me anything, and maybe we can talk as we go, and if not, then hopefully we can just get some work done, or I can get some work done with this sculpture design, and it should be fun and enjoyable, and we'll see. We see here where we're starting, and we'll see where we end. So I've just built up this little mound of clay just to attach, and let's go ahead and start kind of deciding what's going to be happening with the crown for the sculpture. And if you're interested in sculpting, then definitely check out my sculpting courses. There are links to that in the video description. There's a figure sculpting course that goes over the entire figure and everything I wish I knew when I started sculpting people. I've really tried to make it an extensive, thought-out course, and it's well made, and that's over at proko.com/sculpture. And then there's a portrait sculpting course if you're specifically interested in the portrait and getting better at portraiture and learning the anatomy of the face and neck and things like that, and the facial features, sculpting the facial features. Then you might be interested in the portrait sculpting course, and both of those can be found over at proko.com. I've also just started writing an outline for a course that'll go over sculpting hands. And so that'll be kind of like a mini course, a little bit less expensive than the other courses, and just kind of give you an idea of how to approach the hands, which are very difficult. And so if you're interested, be sure that you can just watch out for that, and I'll start putting information on that course once it's closer to being released. And the pre-sale is the time to get the best discount on that course. Somebody's asking how you prevent the sculpture from changing form if it's not drying or hardening. So this is why I like to use just a clay that I've mixed a little bit of wax into, because the wax helps it be a little bit firmer, and so it won't mess up as much as I'm working. But it is tricky, so it's something that I have to be aware of. So I usually with this one, I'll probably try to get the design pretty close to where I want it to be, and then once I'm going to start working on the details, then I'll maybe put a screw in and actually screw it to a piece of wood, like a small piece of wood as a base, and that way I don't have to touch it. I can just hold the base as I'm working, and if I do that, then I'm not constantly like touching it, but then also using a clay that's a little bit firmer, that has more wax, like this one that I've added wax to, helps to keep it from being messed up every time you just change something small. So hopefully that answers the question. Yeah, this is a non-drying clay, so the nice thing about if you're using like a natural water-based clay, and there was somebody that does he was a professional sculptor, all his life, and just a really masterful sculptor. He does the portraits for like NFL Hall of Fame portraits, and he uses natural water-based clay. And I said, well, why do you use that clay? And he said, well, it's soft when I want it to be soft, and it's hard when I want it to be hard. And so that's the nice thing about water-based clay, is there's a lot more flexibility. You can change the hardness of a plasticine or plastilina type clay, this type of clay, by cooling it down or warming it up. The colder it is, the firmer it gets. But in general, if you like to have that wide variety of very soft to hard, then a natural water-based clay might be the thing to try. Let's see. So I need to decide what's happening with the head, and then the proportions and everything are a little bit too large, so I need to start trimming things down. Let me see. So I need to, and then I'm going to be adding that like cross thing that they have on the king piece. So I'm sculpting this king. Great question from thank you for the question. That was from Chris Grayling, and thank you for the question. If you have any more, just let me know, or if that didn't answer your question, let me know, and I'll try to answer it as best I can. So I'm gonna be removing some material. Let's see, I want this to be just a little bit smaller, and I feel like the king is leaning back too much, the queen is leaning forward too much, so I'm going to just add some clay here to try to get the queen more balanced, and that way as I'm comparing the two, I can do that more accurately. And maybe I'll zoom out just a tad so you can see what I'm doing. Okay. So I want to get the postures about right. That's feeling better with the queen. So it was a little bit, it was leaning back too much, but just that little bit of clay has put her more upright and balanced. We want these to be balanced, maybe just a tad more. And then I'll flatten the bottom later on. And if I was to, eventually I'll you know, make a mold and cast these in different colored resins. And the nice thing about it is you only have to make, you know, one king, one queen, and then you just cast everything in a dark and a light. And then the other pieces, you know, you only need to make one bishop, one knight, and one rook, or one castle. And I'll have to decide how I'm going to do those. Let's see, the king needs to be leaning more forward, and because it's too tall, I'm just going to remove some material right there. Take a slice out of the king and see how that looks. It's a little bit better as far as how upright it is. And just a little bit back here, and then that should be a better standing position. More balanced. Balance is really important when it comes to sculpture, and especially with these pieces, you want to have a piece that when you set it down, you know, it's not leaning, the weight of it is not leaning forward or back. You want it to be really balanced when you're playing. You don't want to have to worry about it like leaning in any direction. This king is wearing a kilt or something. Okay. Let's see, somebody's asking, have you worked with water-based clay? Yeah, I have in the past. I've done some, we even did some sculpture competitions where we used water-based clay. The first one that we did with Figure Sculptors United. Well, at that point it was Intermountain Figure Sculpting, Intermountain Figure Sculpture, and then it changed to Figure Sculptors United. But we did, we used water-based clay for that competition, and it was like half life size, so it was a really large sculpture, or really large proportions. And water-based clay is great, nice and soft at the beginning, and then you kind of just let it dry as the process goes. And it was great. And if I had access to a kiln, I would probably work exclusively with water-based clay, because then I could just bake all of my projects and sell them as original sculptures without having to go through the hassle of making a mold and casting them. So at some point I might get a kiln, and then I'll probably move over almost exclusively to water-based clay, unless it's a project like this where I want to be able to mold and cast it. Then I might still use an oil-based clay. But yeah, there's definitely benefits and advantages to using water-based clay. Okay, so let's go ahead and try to trim down the material. Well, even just with that, I feel like removing some of the material on the bottom, that's feeling a little bit better. The king and queen proportions are already just adding a little bit on the bottom of the queen and taking away a little bit from the king. That feels better. And so let's go ahead and kind of move into these, to the details, and maybe we'll try to bring out some line work. So something I think I'd like to do is kind of give the separation from the rib cage down here. So if he's breathing in, that there's some separation from the chest to the rib cage. And I'd be interested if any of you guys watching are would like to see more live streams. I'd like to know, like, what do people do during live streams that would make things more interesting. I've thought about, like, I did a create and conjecture series where I would sculpt while I just listened to news podcasts and then kind of comment on some of the things going on. So there's things like that. I also need to look into just like music that could play in the background, because sometimes that's nice just to have some music in the background, and then I don't have to be focusing on what to say. I can answer questions when I need to, but then I can just focus on sculpting. But I don't know how it works with like copyright and stuff, or if there's a place that makes non-copyright music just for live streams. That would be ideal. But yeah, if you guys have suggestions on things that would be interesting that I could incorporate in some future live streams. I like the live stream, setup, though I think it's not as detailed. Like the live stream comes at 1080p, whereas I can record it, and I'm actually recording right now in 4K. So there's better quality. So maybe I'll upload the live stream afterwards in 4K, so that you guys can see the difference. Let's see. I'm going to move the chin down just a little bit more, and I think I wanted to give this guy a bit of a beard. He's the king, so he's got like a distinguished beard, maybe. What kind of a beard would he have? Maybe he probably have one that's like sharp, cut sharp. Maybe it comes down as like a more blocky, and then it has a sharp transition, like almost like a jawline extending down for the beard. Let's do something like that. Have you ever sculpted a portrait from just a single photo reference, maybe a commission? I've tried, but it is very difficult. So if you're sculpting somebody, I think you need at least, well, if you have a lot of experience doing portrait, then maybe you can invent those forms. But I think if you don't have the side profile, like most of the way I sculpt is based off of that side profile, like this shape of the side, and that's very difficult to accurately judge from a single photo from the front view. So if the person's looking at you, you're looking straight on at the person, it's almost impossible to know exactly what they would look like when you turn it from the side. So that's why I think you need at least a side and a front, so 2 photos, at least for the method that I approach. But maybe if you're, if you've sculpted so many people that you just kind of have a wealth of knowledge of just how people tend to be when you look at a single photo, and maybe you could do it, but I'm still not as talented when it comes to sculpting portraits as I like to be. I did the portrait sculpting course, but what you find out, is there's always more to learn and more to improve on. And I really enjoyed the figure. The whole figure, I think, is really enjoyable and fun to sculpt. And so but the portrait's the most important part. But getting an accurate likeness is one of the most difficult things you can attempt as a sculptor. So yeah, I'd say it would be a challenge. Maybe that's a challenge I could take on in a video, like just try to sculpt a person using just one photo reference. Maybe somebody I'd never seen before, and then see how it goes. But then also, if you only have one reference, it's hard to know if you're accurate or not, unless that person comes and you can compare it directly with them. Let's see. So I think that's looking cooler with the beard. There's the king. Let's give him like a thick, muscular neck. This is a this is a king who lifts. So let's do that. It's a strong, noble king. So thanks for that question. That was from, oh man, is it Surya Darnell? So thank you for the question. Somebody says love the forms. Love from India. Well, thank you. Message retracted, so no love from India, I guess. But thank you for when it was there. Let's see. So yeah, I've got kind of just a little bit of an indication of the cheekbones. Let's go ahead and add in the nose and brow. So I'm just a little piece of clay for the nose, and I'm pressing that and blending it to the sides. And I'm not gonna, like, the faces, I don't want to be super detailed. This is I'm gonna kind of abstract things a little bit. Oh, so the message came back. No, lots of love from India. You're so hardworking. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I try to be productive. But that's it's a hard thing to judge when you're an artist, because productivity and creating stuff does not always translate to people being interested in the stuff you're creating. And so for artists, it's hard. But I'd say, yeah, the artists that become successful are just constantly creating. They're just like, they have so much artwork because they're just making so much of it that that people just find their work and buy it, or they find places to put it because they don't have room for it in their house or something. Let's see. Somebody's asking. I work in water-based clay. I want to try to work with non-drying clay. Can you tell me which clay is the best to start with for the first time? So I guess I would just try to see. I'm not familiar with what brands that they might have in India, but I guess I'd just look up like a non-dry modeling clay. You might look it up online. It's kind of a niche thing. In the US, it's become pretty common. You can go into like Walmart and other places and find non-drying modeling clays, or hobby stores like Hobby Lobby and things like that. I don't know if that's the case everywhere. And so if, let's say, I think I want this crown to come and cover the ears, because who wants to sculpt the ears if you don't have to? So let's have the crown kind of have it come over the brow and kind of tilted back, something like that. Yeah, that's looking pretty epic with the beard. I like that. Let's see what it looks like compared to the queen as far as size and everything. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. I'm liking that so far. So yeah, I would just find an inexpensive non-dry modeling clay and try it out. And I prefer something that's a little bit more firm, but you might only have like a soft clay available. But if you're working larger scale, then soft clay is helpful because you can move it around easier. And I would just buy little pieces, like little sections of clay, and then try it out, and then work your way up to getting more once you find a brand that you like. My question is, how much do you earn by this? Most of my income comes from the online courses that I teach. That's where the majority of my income is coming from right now. It's not, it's not a ton of money, but it is. But the hope that I have is that it is scalable, and so as I create more courses and more online content, and as I try to grow things like YouTube and other channels and build my income streams, so maybe eventually start doing like brand deals or affiliate marketing and other things, that it's something that I can build on top of, and then those other income streams like the courses will just slowly over time increase in value. But it's not a get-rich-quick scheme. I definitely wouldn't say that sculpture or art in general is a get-rich-quick plan for life. It's kind of like get-rich-slow. But if you're committed and you want to make it as an artist, then I don't think there's any better time than right now, because there's more wealth in the world than at any time, and you're able to reach a wider audience because of technology and the internet and things like that. And so I'd say there's never a better time, but it's still not there's easier ways to make money. But I'd say you don't even really have to make money at to begin with. Just do it because you enjoy doing it, and I think most artists don't start out making money as artists. They start out doing something different, and then they build up that art revenue over time, or they're already retired and then they become artists and then find a way to make money doing that. So it's definitely a challenge. Let's see, some other questions came in. What advice would you give for someone who wants to start sculpting? Well, I always recommend my courses, because I really try to give you everything that I wish I knew when I started. I would also, along with the last comment about earning and making money, I would also just be interested in trying to learn about marketing and selling your work, whether that's online or building relationships with galleries, or whatever type of artwork you want to do. Try to build relationships with the people that either do that type of work or sell that type of work, because if you're an artist, then you're your own business. It's a business, and so figure out if that's a long-term plan, then figure out how to monetize it. be interested in those things. And then just be consistent. Like, that's the only way to get better, is consistency. Like, try to sculpt a little bit every day, or at least consistently. What about digital sculpting? Then 3D printing. Have you tried that? I have tried digital sculpting just a little bit, but I found that I'm just more interested in traditional sculpting, working by hand, and kind of that traditional, keeping on that tradition going. Digital sculpting is something that I might get into later, for other projects, building other projects, and I see the appeal of it. Like, it's a lot faster once you learn how to do everything, and it can be, there's a lot of benefits to it. Like you said, you can 3D print and make it any size, and do all kinds of cool stuff with technology, and so it's something that I still might get into and try out. But for right now, I just really enjoy traditional sculpting, working by hand, and feeling the clay. And it feels more traditional, which is, I'm kind of a conservative person, traditional. So I like trying to keep that tradition going and working in materials, even though I guess this oil-based clay is a fairly recent material, but clays, water-based clays have been used for as long as humanity has existed, and stone, stone has been a medium for sculpting, which I also really like. And so even though some things I like to experiment with, like abstraction, and that's kind of like a modern style, but I still like to try to work in the tradition of the past, and learn from those, or just continue in that tradition of people that have gone before. I think that's a cool thing, and working with my hands is a part of that for me. So he says, thank you for answering my question. No problem. And if you have any more, please let me know. It helps me to keep the conversation going when there's an active comments and questions section. Somebody says, OMG, you teach online courses. Whoa, you're multi-talented. Yeah, and you can find links in the description to those courses, and then all of the free video lessons are on the Proco 3D YouTube channel. So if you don't have money for the courses, which is the case, I understand. I was artist that had very little resources in college, and wanting to learn, and so I would just take advantage. I would just drink up all of the free information that I could find on YouTube. And so if that's you, if you're in that situation where you can't afford the courses, that's why we put up so much free content on the Proco 3D YouTube channel, and I'll continue to do that and hopefully provide lots of value for people. Let's see, I'm going to go ahead and come in with the center line to try to keep myself somewhat grounded. I want this to be about symmetrical from side to side. That's something where digital sculpting is a lot easier, to keep things symmetrical. You just push a button and then it sculpts the other side for you. You don't have to worry about matching the sculpture. Somebody says, I respect the artists. Well, that's great. Yeah. Let's see. So yeah, I'm liking the design so far. I like where it's going. Let me go ahead and try to, again, compare these two and see if there's anything I want to do different. So I might need to narrow the shoulders just for the sake of space. I think they're getting too wide, because if it's too broad in the shoulders, then there's not going to be space for the the pieces to go alongside it when it's set up on the chessboard. And these pieces, these are going to be large pieces for a larger or a large scale chessboard, but it needs to be under 2.25 inches, I think, or about 6 centimeters, or maybe it's 5.5 centimeters that has to be under. Do you have any book recommendations for sculpting, or have you published any of your own books? Yeah, there's actually a link in the description to An Artist's X-Ray Vision, which is a book that I published. It's an ebook, so it has a bunch of images of the figure, the male figure, and then I've gone over top of those images and drawn in diagrams of things that artists have in mind. So things like the anatomy, the forms of the muscles, the gesture, and then I do these in different colors. So each color is like a different lens that artists use to better represent and understand the figure. And it's a book that I thought, I tried to include some of the best visual, what would you call it, like visual guides or tools that I've just found really useful from other artists, and concepts that are really helpful. So if you're interested, I definitely recommend that one. As far as that one's kind of for artists in general that work with a figure. As far as for sculpting, I definitely recommend I recommend the book by Edward Lanteri that's called Modeling and Sculpting the Human Figure. That one's a great book. It's I can find it, or I've found it for very cheap, like under $10 on eBay. I think I got it for $6 a while ago, and it's just an old, kind of a classic book when it comes to sculpting. A lot of the principles that I teach in the course, in my sculpting courses, are based on that book, and so I would recommend that. Yeah, so that book I published, and then that book I recommend. The one that I published is in the link in the description, An Artist's X-Ray Vision. And the other one was Edward Lanteri's Modeling and Sculpting the Human Figure. What would your advice for me to what? Let's see. What would be your advice for me to what to do next? I have this plans. I don't know what that means, what that's referring to. Oh, okay. So do I need to start uploading videos again on YouTube, or do I need to find another career for me? I would say, I would find something that's just, and this isn't what I did. I kind of tried to do the art. I tried to do the art full time, but I guess I wouldn't recommend what I did. I would just find something that you can survive on. So just work that people value, that you can support yourself, and if you have a family, you can support your family. And then I would treat art as a side hustle, as a side endeavor. And if you really have the artist spirit where you just have to be creating or you're miserable, then you'll create, and create works that you finish that you can sell. So whether that's digital products, or if you're a photographer, actually getting it so that somebody can purchase a picture and hang it up, or if you're a sculptor, actually casting it and putting it for sale online. So getting all of the projects that you're working on, you should be taking them to the point where you can sell them. Now, this is something that I haven't been taking my own advice, and I'm trying to do it more. So I'm trying to do it with projects like this, with this chessboard, to create a product that I can actually finish and sell. But a lot of the stuff that I've been doing recently is demos for my online courses, and some of the demo stuff is not as marketable to sell. But maybe that's just because I haven't been working hard enough to market those pieces. So I would say, like, don't be afraid to just find work that will pay you and that you can do. And ideally, it's some sort of job that gives you a little bit of free time either there or afterwards, and that way you can work on artwork and sculpting as a side endeavor for a little bit, and then once that takes off, then you can focus more and more energy as you build that either your name as an artist or your revenue streams from that. How long do you take to complete this project on average? I'm not sure how long this one will take. It's taking probably a little bit more as I'm doing it on live streams than if I was just sculpting. I really like sculpting on my couch with some or listening to podcasts while I sculpt or something like that. Just kind of sitting down and working on it. I find it more draining to film my sculptures, but because most of my income comes from my online courses, I want to film as much as I can to create content to advertise for those courses, because that's how I am able to do this. And so if I had the choice, I would maybe hire somebody that could just set up all the camera stuff, and I would just sit down and just sculpt and listen to something, listen to podcasts or audiobooks or things like that, or have the TV on in the background and just work. That's just how I like to work. And so I guess I'm going off on a tangent. So how long it would take, I think usually, depending on the level of detail, it's maybe I'd finish something like this in a maquette. Well, it depends on how finished it goes, but maybe I'd get the design in 5 hours, and then I'd get finish it in another 5 hours. So maybe 10 hours for something like this to be finished to the point where it's ready to be cast. Though it's kind of hard to tell. Sometimes it's less than that. Depends on how fast I'm working. Do you recommend getting yourself out there when you're a beginner or intermediate, and in what scale? So I definitely recommend putting your work out there immediately. And what I did when I was in college was I started my Instagram that has since been hacked and deleted, and that was a really big blow. But I worked for 4 years or 5 years part-time building that Instagram, and I just originally started it saying I'm just going to post something every day, and that'll force me to just be creating and sculpting every day so that I have something to post. So I used my social media as a way to motivate me to create more artwork and create better artwork, because I didn't want to be sharing stuff that I was embarrassed to have created. I wanted to share stuff that was interesting and well made. And then I followed artists that were creating work that inspired me and that was better than my work. I would try to just follow people whose work I would have liked to be able to do. I would have liked that. So I definitely recommend putting your stuff out there and then just slowly improving your skills. Always be getting better when it comes to your skills, your ability to sculpt, or your style. You kind of have to start to hone in on your style, or what sets you apart as an artist. Once you want to start selling, you have to have something about your work that makes it either recognizable or something about you that people are drawn to. So I think social media is a great way to do this as an artist. But if you're not somebody that likes to be on camera or create content on social media, then you just have to figure out other ways of getting yourself out there. But yeah, I would say don't wait until you're great. Just start doing it, and then do it in ways that that will build good relationships. So, for example, I see a lot of beginners that'll comment things like, "Hey, check out my artwork." You know, that's what they'll comment on other people's artwork. And I've never gone to somebody's page that has said that and been impressed with their artwork. Like, it just, people that make good artwork just don't post stuff like that. So I would say become the type of person that creates good artwork, and but you don't have to be creating good artwork to start sharing. And I would definitely say start sharing immediately. Like, nobody, you can't grow as an artist unless you're being an art, you know, you're working as an artist and doing those things. Man, I like that that portrait's coming along. I like that a lot better. Let's see. Somebody's saying, same, I also like sculpting while by watching your videos. Yeah, if you can watch something or have something in the background, play something in the background, TV show, a favorite TV show, or, you know, an audio book, just so that you're entertained. For some parts of the sculpture, I think you need to be focused, but for other parts, like when I'm doing, like when I'm working on the line work and the details of the sculpture, sometimes I need to turn things off and be a little bit more focused. But then once I'm just doing the texturing or something, that I can just basically turn my brain off to, and I don't have to worry about it so much. So let's go ahead. I'm liking how the front is coming. So now I'm going to, let's go ahead and turn to the back side, and I will try to develop some of the sculpture there. Let me get a center line drawn in. And I'll start. Somebody's saying, okay, bye. In India, it's 11:30, so it's my bedtime, and tomorrow I go to school. So yeah, bye. Take care. Well, bye. I think you're probably gone, but bye, and hopefully school goes well for you. Somebody's saying, I'd love to see high-res images of your sculpture of the mouth that you painted in green patina. The one that's in the intro of every Proco 3D video. Oh, okay. Yeah, I think I might have some of those. I'll have to figure out a way to post them. Maybe something I could do, maybe something I should do, that I was talking about well, it's something I thought about before, is like photograph the sculptures in detail and then put them up as artwork that people can buy just as a work of art that they can hang up. And so, yeah, I'll have to see if I have those images of the sculpture, and then where would I put them up? I don't know. Maybe I'll do that. I'll try to, in my store, either maybe do digital images, detailed images of some of my reference material, so like some of the facial features that I've done, and as like reference packs or something, like photo reference packs for cheap, just for a couple dollars or something, because I was talking about trying to have more things to sell. So yeah, I'll try to provide some of those in a little bit. That's good to know what people are interested in. Let's go ahead. I'm going to turn around this guy too so that I can see. Well, you guys can't see him very much, but he's got kind of the more detailed back with some of the muscle groups added, and so I'm just going to use this as a rough guide Again, I'm not going for super detailed, and I'm going to be abstracting the sculpture later on. By the way, do you have a reference off screen, or are you so far along that you remember all the muscle placements? So I do have this reference. This is just a sculpture that I did recently using, and then for this one I used a reference from a Anatomy for Comic Artists book, and I like their kind of muscular anatomy take on anatomy, and so I'm definitely I kind of have a rough idea, but I'm definitely not at the point where I feel comfortable with all of the forms of the muscles and everything. So I'm still trying to learn that. I'd like to eventually. I'm gonna do another, maybe once I finish with the hand course, with the mini course on how to sculpt the hands. Maybe I'll do an crochet course where we'll go over all of the muscles of the body and the skeleton as just like a course of just building the crochet, because every time I study the figure, I learn something and I enjoy it, and there's always so much to learn. And the body is so amazing and complex, and I think such a beautiful designed machine that that is definitely worth studying and learning as much as you can about. Let's see, I'm going to come in and try to take away some of the clay for the spine along that center line. And for this, I want to probably be removing mostly the clay, just like this, with this tool. This is a homemade loop tool. If you're interested in how to make these, there's a video on the Proco 3D channel on tools. So if you just type in Proco 3D tools, you'll get the video that goes over my method for building these homemade tools. Do you think that having drawing skills can help you with sculpting? I've been drawing for a while now, and I think that I'm ready to try sculpting as well. Yeah, drawing, the ability to draw will definitely help as you sculpt. I'm gonna zoom in just a little bit more so you guys can see. So yeah, they definitely build on each other. They're skills that are very compatible, and most of the great sculptors throughout history also understood drawing, and so I'd say that if you can, and if you're interested, build that drawing skill as well, and at the same time as you're working on sculpture. And for me, I was the same way. I really liked drawing, but then I found out once I tried sculpting that I was almost better at sculpting than I was at drawing. After having drawn basically my whole life, I just always liked to draw. So you might be that way too, where your mind just seems to work better in 3D clay, like working in 3D. Maybe reestablish that center line, make sure I'm accurate there. And then somebody's saying, and vice versa, I've found sculpting to be helpful for my drawings. That's yeah, they definitely build on each other because they're just compatible skills, especially when you're working with a figure. Yeah, JJ?
Kind of sculpt me while I'm playing on your laptop.
You want me to sculpt you right now?
So I can order a dog.
I'm doing a video right now, JJ. I'm doing a live stream, is what it's called, and so I can't.
I got a quarter on the floor.
You found a quarter on the floor?
Yeah.
Well,
Remember? He's in the middle of the video. Come on.
Yeah, come on out, because I am doing a video right now, so.
Rachel, come out.
But maybe later. I am interested because I'd like to finish the sculpture I started of you, JJ. But come on out, Rachel. Love you guys.
Your hands are sticky.
Close the door all the way, Amanda. Those are yeah. If you can hear those are my kids coming in and seeing what I'm doing. I have so we just got a new home in Iowa, because in Iowa, USA, it's kind of the middle of the U.S. towards the, well, I guess middle east. And anyway, we got a new home, and I set up my studio just in a couple of the rooms where I'm sculpting, and it is nice to have like a space just for working. So if you have the ability to set aside a room that's just your work space / studio space, and that's just what it's for, and it's not for other things, then I definitely recommend that. Before we moved, we were just in a little 2-bedroom apartment with 3 kids, and I was just filming in the bedroom. So I would put up the black here is just black curtains, that are made from they're made from like sheets that you put on a bed. And so it was the bedroom, and then it was also the like sculpting studio, and there was just sculpting stuff all over, and there wasn't a lot of room. And anyway, if you can get to a point where you have a space that's just for work as an artist, like just for creating work, then I'd say that is definitely a benefit. And JJ, so JJ, he's 4, and I started a sculpture of him, and I just he just earns money being my model with a little sculpture I'm doing. I sculpted my daughter's portrait just recently, and she earned a little bit doing that, and so that's fun to have little models to work from. Let's see. Trying to see what I think about the side profile. I'm gonna remove some material here. Did you have a 9-to-5 before starting sculpting? If so, how do you keep the motivation to sculpt? So, so I was a student at the university when I started working on the sculpting courses, and I would just work part-time. So I worked part-time like as a waiter, and then I was a full-time student and working on the sculpting courses, like aside from that. And so I don't know how it's been possible, but I've been able to do just like when I would be working, it was usually just part-time stuff, working as a temp or things in like construction or stuff like that. And then as far as like finding the motivation to work to sculpt outside of that, I think you just kind of have to have a drive if you're an artist. Like if finding the motivation to create is something that you struggle with being motivated, then then maybe just do something else and just have art be a hobby on the side. If you want to be a full-time artist, you want to make your money doing art, then you shouldn't really struggle with the desire to create or finding the energy to create. It should be something that it's like you just have to do it because you love it so much. Um, so so yeah, as far as full-time, no, I haven't done. I've just been able to do it with different part-time gigs, whether that was like construction or other or being a waiter, at a restaurant or things like that. But I'm not against it, so maybe if for whatever reason sales go down on my online stuff and I have to get a part-time or a part or full-time job, to pay the bills, then I think that's what you got to do. And so there's no issue there, and there's definitely no judgment. Like if you have to have a full-time job to support your artwork and just your life. And it is difficult, like how do I create artwork when I'm working so much? And I'd say if you can, find some sort of job where there is maybe a little bit of downtime where you can be creating something on the job. Like some jobs, if you're working as a security guard or something where you just have to like do the rounds every hour, but a lot of it is just sitting around in front of a screen, then maybe you can have a little maquette like this. Like maybe you can just, as long as you're aware of what's going on, you can be doing something creative. There are jobs like that out there. They might not pay as much, obviously, because if they're not as involved, then it's easier to find somebody that can do those jobs. But if you can find those, then maybe you'd be willing to be paid a little bit less for that creative outlet or ability to create while you're working. Let's see. Let's come back to the back. And on the queen, I've kind of started a little bit of this, like pushing in where the glutes kind of come in, and then there's kind of this butterfly effect of line work that comes around. So I'll probably want to do something a little bit similar with the king. So I'm just gonna put some clay in to build up those forms. That's like the gluteus medius coming here on the side and transferring into the gluteus maximus. And then I don't want to, let's see, I don't need too much of a separation between the forms of the glutes. I just kind of need that. Do that butterfly shape. Somebody's asking, do you have any other creative outlet? Yeah, well, so I also really like my three big hobbies that I love is art, so drawing and sculpting. And then I love table tennis, ping pong, and I actually taught table tennis at a university in Utah, Utah State University that was close to my home. I taught there for like 4 years as a part-time instructor, and that was really fun and kind of just a fun way to earn a little bit. And so that was another outlet, and I really like the physical aspect of it and the sport of it. And then I also, though I haven't done it a lot recently, I also juggle. So like juggle with juggling balls and things like that. And when I was practicing regularly, I was pretty good. I could juggle 5 pretty well, and I was working on juggling 7, though that was something that I never got like to where I could do it consistently and hold it for very long. But I could, throw up 7 balls and then catch them at different points. But now I'm kind of rusty with that. But I do like juggling. Maybe I'll do a YouTube video just to show that I can juggle. It's like a routine or something. Because that's fun. But that's another creative outlet that I really like. Juggling and art and table tennis. Those are like the three things that I just really enjoy. Let's see. You're making me realize I'm kind of just slacking off. Thanks for the inspiration. Well, aren't we all? We all know that we should be doing more stuff, and we're not. And there's just times where we're more productive and times when we're less productive, and we just have to try to work on being more productive more of the time. But it's something that it's like nobody can really do it for you. You just gotta make the decision and do it. Hi from Belgium. Hello and welcome from America. Let's see. So glutes are coming together. I'm liking that face at this point. I like that that design. I think I'll be pretty close to it, but I need to still work out the hat. Maybe that's what I'll do. Let me grab where is it? Let me grab the chess pieces so I can use those as a reference, and then I'll work on that. The king's crown and so let me just grab that right now. I will be right back. And here we are. Let's see. So you've got the king and the queen. So the king has this cross section crown, and so let's go ahead and sculpt that in. Just add this. We will have it be like I want it to be thicker, something like that. Then actually and maybe I want this to come down, because I don't want any areas of the sculpture to be too thin. I want pretty much the whole thing to have a thickness to it, so that there's no areas that are gonna like break or be weak when I'm molding and casting these. So let me add some thickness, and then I'll sculpt out that crown or that cross. Son piezas de ajedrez. Sí, eso lo son. Somebody's saying they're chess pieces. And I was like, yeah, that's what they are. Yeah, I've just recently got into chess just a little bit more. It's not I wouldn't say that it's a hobby like my other hobbies, but I just, I like watching videos on people playing chess and it's kind of fun. But I generally need the game explained to me like as they're playing. Otherwise, I don't really understand what's a good move or why it's a good move, and it's kind of hard to watch. I think the same thing is kind of true with table tennis, where you don't realize. I think that's one of the reasons that it hasn't really caught off as much. It hasn't caught on as much in the U.S. is because it's a little bit hard to realize what's happening or the skill that's required unless you have experience with that. Let's see. I want the crown to kind of come down over the ears, so this might be a little bit high on this side. Somebody's saying, bye, good night, sir. Well, good night. Thank you for your comments and participating in the video. It is much easier to have things to talk about when people are asking questions and commenting, so I always appreciate it. And I'll try to do more live streams. Maybe I'll try to do quite a few of these to finish up the king. I'm not used to talking. Like, that's something that I got used to when I would teach table tennis, because I'd be kind of yelling. Well, not yelling, but talking loud to the class. It's in a big gymnasium, and so you have to talk kind of loud. Then I forgot, every time you come back, it takes a while for your voice to get used to projecting and talking for extended periods of time. So my voice is getting a little bit tired. Let's see. Somebody says, I was going to say sculpting is almost like chess. It's fun at all stages. Yeah, I could see that. What are some other similarities? Let's think of similarities between chess and sculpting. A lot of people can do it, but not a lot of people do it well. I think that's probably another similarity. People can get into sculpting, but to become a master is like a lifetime endeavor. And the same thing with chess is, it's like these people spend hours and hours just studying and learning and improving. Let's see. I think this is starting to look a little bit better once I get this. What are some other similarities between chess and sculpting? If you guys think of any, put them in the comments. Let's see. Okay, so the cross I can start to maybe establish a little bit more clearly. I think I like this kind of curved, that it kind of curves down into the hat. Not the hat, the crown kind of curves down into the crown. Let's lift the hat up, lift the crown up a little bit on this, on the forehead part. Dun, 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 dun. So this is looking quite a bit better. I really like how this is coming along, the king and queen. An attractive looking couple, I think. I need to work on the details of the queen. Looks like I smashed her nose a little bit. Oh, and then I need to check the distance between the shoulders of the king. I think it might need to come in even a little bit more. So maybe what I'll do is similar to the queen, where I have the shoulders kind of blend in with the traps. I think this is still too wide. I do like that broad shoulder look, but I think I'm pushing, like if the chess set was set up, that the shoulders would be coming in contact with the rest of the other pieces. So let me just narrow those just a little bit. And I'll have to double check all of the proportions and everything before I start finalizing the details. But this is just for a rough idea. Somebody's saying another commonality between chess and sculpture is memorization, muscle groups or ratios and openings / tactics. Some things aren't just innate, some things you have to straight up study. Yeah, that is definitely true. That is definitely the case. You know, you learn theory, and then there's like the basics. So with with chess, it might be something like you want to control the center. That's something that you hear a lot. Control the center of the board. And with sculpting, what I try to teach is with sculpting, you start thin and simple, and then slowly build out mass and complexity. So that's kind of the most basic principle that I think if people understood, they'd be able to do a decent job. It's just like simplify. And so those are some principles that are maybe very similar between chess and sculpture. Let's see, let me lower this just a little bit. Yeah, that's fun. That's coming along. I'd like to do a business. Maybe I'll talk to my brother, my little brother Matthew, because he's kind of into chess right now. Maybe I'd like to do a whole business just selling these chess boards. Like I do the designs, and then we sell unique, like sculpted chess boards as kind of like an interesting kind of for those that are chess enthusiasts, and I think that would be a fun business to do. And that's what you got to be doing as an artist, just constantly thinking about, how can you market to more people, how can you sell to more people. And I think I want to widen this just like I did in the female one, so that it kind of comes out and then down and then maybe out at the beard again, because that's kind of this form where it comes out and then down and then out. So maybe this is like the top of the hat, and then this is like the beard right there. So I'm trying to constantly pull from design elements of the chess piece, or the basic design of chess. And chess pieces, there's all sorts of different designs, but there's kind of the basic, you have the basic understanding of how they usually look. And then I can take those, and then I can add those elements to this more, right now it's more realistic. So I don't know, I don't know how realistic I'll go on these, but I definitely want it to be a little bit stylized. We'll see what that means by the end. so that it's coming out there, and then the beard, I want the beard to come out more on the sides so that it's like something like that. Oh yeah, that's cool. That's cool with the beard coming out more. It's like this kind of swooping thing. Yeah, I like that. I like that design element. I know a sculptor that, as far as I know, does pretty well, and he sculpts he sculpts abstract sculptures in stone using bones as his inspiration. So he'll look at the different formations on bones, like the bones of ox or cow bones or things like that, and then that's his inspiration for the sculptures that he produces, and it's just a fascinating way to create a sculpture, and his sculptures are really interesting. His name is Miles Howell, and he's he does abstract work, but it's abstract in a way that's interesting and well done, and has a beauty to it. Let's go ahead and then I think the beard would come to like a more triangular point. So let's go and do that. Yeah, something like that. Look at that. Something like that. Okay, well, that's coming along. I like what's happening. I like what's happening so far. Let's thin this. Pull that in. So yeah, I like that kind of playing on that swoop down. So it comes out. Maybe I'll add a little bit more to the crown, to the side of the crown, to exaggerate what's happening there. Get a little bit more rounded. And something like this. So let's look at those. Let's kind of compare those. The king and queen pieces. That's really fun. That's really fun. Those are coming together nicely. I really like that. So I still need to work on some of the back. Let me actually grab a ruler and check the proportions just to make sure that I'm still working within the limitations of the size of these pieces. So let me go grab that. Okay, so I think a large chessboard is, from what I heard, it's 2.5 inches. Like the squares are 2.5 inches for a large chessboard. So the sculpture has to be under that. I think the widest we can go is 2.25. So this is too wide by quite a bit. So I need to change the design of the shoulders. And so I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to have the wings kind of go out into the shoulders. And then I have to pull these, or the lats. So the lats, I'll kind of have the shoulders go into the, or the lats go into the shoulders, and just kind of give a hint that the shoulders kind of extend outward, but that they're not included, and that way I can kind of shrink things down just a little bit to under that 2.25 inches. So somebody's asking, are you going to give him a scepter too, or will he remain armless? He'll stay armless, just like this one. I may do different designs in the future of the chess pieces, and especially, maybe if this does well and I'm able to maybe market it well and sell these, and it's successful, something that people are interested in, then I might do different designs in the future. Where maybe they're more complex sculptures. But for this one, I want it to be kind of simple, and I'm kind of playing off the design that I went with this first piece that I sculpted, which was the queen. And so it's not going to get too complicated. It's going to mostly be kind of simplified, and won't have any arms for, at least for this design. Maybe I'll do different designs in the future. I think that would be fun to do. Maybe have a series of different chessboards, and maybe do a, maybe if they sell, then I do more. That's the thing with the artists, is you gotta, find what works, and then if it works, then you do more. So let's go ahead and see if we can't press these in just a little bit more. So you can see that's just a different way of treating it, where it removes some of that mass of the side, and that's getting closer to the, I think I want 2.25 to be the widest, 2.25 inches to be the widest, because that's the size of the, or because the size of the square is 2.5, and so I just want there to be a little bit of space from the widest point, so that it's not bumping into the other pieces. So let's do that. And what we can do is maybe we can actually widen out the chest and bring it down a little bit. And so that we're saying that the shoulders go past this. We're saying that with the design, so it's not confusing. It doesn't feel like we're cutting something off in a weird way, though we might have to, you know, depending on, or we might have to just shrink everything down. Let's see, I like what's going on this side. And then gotta kind of repeat those forms on this other side. A scepter would be cool, though, for sculptures in the future. Maybe sometime I'll do that. Let's see, I don't think I like the design of this with more of the arms removed. I liked it better with the way it was, but you know, that's what I got to do when I have to remove some material and then I have to build it back in a way. Got to figure out a way to make it interesting again. Maybe something like that. And same thing over here. So it's saying it's as if you're going to give him wings. Yeah, that's kind of what it looks like right now. Yeah. Yeah, well, the lats are kind of, you know, they're like wings, the latissimus dorsi muscles. So that's going to be part of that. And then I've done stone sculptures in the past that have a similar type design, abstracted male torso that kind of extends out like this, and so I think this is a good compromise. Let's see, 2. So now we're just under. Still kind of close. Somebody says the first design was indeed nicer. Yeah, that's just how it goes, but I gotta change it now. So sometimes That's how it goes. Like if I'm doing a stone sculpture, if I'm doing a stone sculpture, sometimes there's just like you make a mistake and then you just lose the material and you have to change the whole design of the sculpture. That's why abstract is definitely much easier in stone than realistic, naturalistic, because once you lose a piece of material, then you can't get that back. And so that's why it is difficult. And with this is just the constraints of the size. But maybe I just need to shrink down the entire torso and then I could do a similar design as before. So if I don't like this, then that's what I'll do. Let's go ahead and draw in that center line again. Yeah, that's another advantage of sculpting, on a computer, 3D. You don't like something, you can just shrink the whole thing, or you can push Control Alt Delete and go back, and if you decide you don't like something. But with sculpting, at this point I just have to decide, well, how do I get it to the point where I like what's going on again? So you just gotta figure those things out. Let's see, I'm gonna check out the reference again and go ahead and add. Yeah, it's always difficult, especially like you get something that where you like it or you like where it's going, and then you make a change and it makes it worse, and then you're like, oh, now I got to figure out how to get back to where I was, and I was liking it. But that's just part of the sculpting process, part of life. Yeah, I think it'll be okay in the end. Just got to keep going. Okay, I think I'm gonna call it for this live stream. That was fun. I really like that. I definitely like what's going on with the face, and that wasn't established before, and so now I just have to work the body a little bit and get it back to a place where I'm happy with. So there's a look at the king and queen together, and I think that that's looking pretty good. It's feeling better as far as proportions go, as far as size and everything. Yeah, it's feeling good. Again, if you guys are interested in sculpting, then definitely check out the figure sculpting course or portrait sculpting course. Both of those you can find links to in the description of this video. And you can find links to my ebook on an artist's X-ray vision, which is very helpful if you're interested in figurative art. And there's also links to my Patreon if you want to support me over there, which I definitely appreciate. And there's some exclusive Patreon content that you can find access to over there, some demos and things like that. Yeah, if you guys have suggestions for things you'd like to see in the future, feel free to reach out. And thank you guys for watching. Stay creative, stay productive, and I'll see you around in the next video or live stream.